Welcome to the Not Old Better Show. I'm your host, Paul Vogelsang. We have an amazing show today. Our guest is Al Carraway. Al Carraway is a multi-award winning public speaker who spent the last 7 years traveling the countryside, inspiring the world with her story of conversion, redemption, and finding faith. As a popular blogger, author of the best-selling book More Than the Tattooed Mormon, which we'll be discussing today, and the recently released Cheers to Eternity, her messages have reached millions. She's a native New Yorker who now lives in Utah with her sweetheart Ben and her 2 kids. We are in for a special treat as Al has also agreed to read a passage from her book today. So please join me in welcoming to the Not Old Better Show, author and speaker Al Carraway. Well, Al Carraway, thanks so much for joining the show today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you. I love the book. The name of the book, of course, is More. It's. I think it's your first book, but it is titled More Than the Tattooed Mormon. But as you look at the cover, and we'll put up a picture of the cover on the website, but it clearly emphasizes the tattooed Mormon part of the title. But after reading the book, you probably know where I'm going. After I read the book, and when you properly say the title, More Than the Tattooed Mormon, you're not wild about being known as the Tattooed Mormon exclusively, are you?
No, I hate that nickname. It is just the worst. And so I actually had a completely different title in general for my book. And I fought really hard back and forth for about 2 months with my publishers because they wanted Tattooed Mormon in there. And so my title that it is now, More Than the Tattooed Mormon, was our compromise. But to me, I was already labeled with this name. It's sort of implying that I'm more than this nickname, and I'm more than this judgment, and I'm more than my past or my image or anything else that you can think of. And of course, my publishers took the compromise and made the Tattooed Mormon a giant and more than the super small. But that's what our compromise was. So I made sure that in the book I actually did explain it and my feelings and thoughts towards it. So.
Well, let's talk about this term that you just used, judgment, because often in the book you refer to being judged by one's past. And, we really shouldn't judge people based on appearance. Judge not, lest ye be judged. But if you were to write a sequel or a follow-up to this book, would you be inclined to focus on this area of judgment and the lessons learned?
Probably not. I don't know. I just feel, judgment is just humankind, right? We just do that anyways. No, probably not. I have other things I want to talk about that I think are cooler.
Well, good. Well, we look forward to hearing about those too. Absolutely.
I think I covered it pretty well in this book. I feel like, because it's not just about me and my tattoos. And actually, even though it's kind of a book about myself, I make sure that I hope it's really clear that it's not really about me. And so as I talk about judgment in this book, which I feel like I do pretty heavily already, it's not just about tattoos, right? It's judgment with culture or humanity, in general, just how, what do we know, right? Yeah,
it's really true. But in that sense, though, it is so inspiring, and it's really a book about motivation and triumph. So what would you say to someone who might not even feel that they're struggling with their purpose or with knowing God or feeling His love?
I don't know. I just feel like, here's what I think. When I think of why I resonate as much as I do, it's not because they are also LDS or covered in tattoos or have felt or experienced what I have felt. But it all comes down to emotion, right? To think that we all don't feel the same is so ludicrous. Of course we have all felt judged. Of course we have all felt mad at God or confused or asked to do something so hard. And so if we can just talk about that openly, which for whatever reason some people don't, I do. Maybe that's the New Yorker in me where my blunt just comes out. That's how we're able to connect, you know? I don't think I answered your question, but that's what I just thought of.
No, I thought you did a nice job. I thought you really did a great job in the book too of working out this very interesting perspective you have on the subject of trials. And I've asked you, kind of in our correspondence, to read from the book, specifically from the chapter titled Trials. But your perspective, which again is really, really interesting, I thought, is not to avoid trials, but to look at them differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe before you read, tell us how you look at trials.
So I'm by nature an optimist. I always have been that way, even before I became religious or was associated, before I even knew that God was like real and he exists and it was a thing, which I didn't even start to figure that out until I was in my 20s. I think it's just in me. I'm by nature, an optimist. And I think part of the culture of being raised how I was, which is in New York, which is very much of a, you just got to figure it out and make it happen kind of embedded into you at every stage of your life. And so the mix of that, but then also finding that, wow, God is real. And if we really just take a step back and understand what that really means, the most powerful being to ever exist is on your side, then how can we not have that perspective that, of course, this will lead me to better things. Of course, this will be for my good. Of course, I'm going to grow. And so I am a strong believer that we find what we look for. I have learned that lesson the hard way too many times, but we find what we look for. And so I just decided to save myself a lot of grief and look for the good and look for God, because he truly is, as he promised, always there. And to recognize how we can see him in our lives. And the way that I see him is that all good things come from God, including feelings. So anytime you have felt comfort or hope or forgiveness, anything good, those feelings, that is God. And I 100% have felt those in my darkest and most confusing of times. And it has always, 1,000% of the times, led me to better things, things that I didn't even know was available to myself. So it was just a combination of mix of things, but it's all stemming from that, remembering who's in charge and who he really is.
Well, it's really a powerful message. It's just an eye-opening, I thought, perspective. And I wonder if I could ask you to read from that one chapter on trials. Yeah. I think it's chapter 12. But it'd be great to just hear maybe a couple of paragraphs in your voice about that.
Sure. Okay. Clear my voice.
Yeah, go ahead.
Every trial, hardship, discouragement, and heartache will not be wasted or go unnoticed. Be patient. Take a deep breath and smile. Everything will be all right. We are in the best hands. Push forward with a brightness of hope and do not let giving up be an option. Stay close to the Lord, even if everything doesn't make sense at first. We will never be shortchanged if we are simply trying. Even if we feel like our energy and faith have run thin, we have everything we need in the bullet points of the gospel. The power behind every resource we are given to return home is indescribably real and absolutely incredible. Perish or conquer, you decide. All things denote there is a God, even your trials. Your prayers have been heard, but greater are the things he has in store for you. Do not get discouraged or lose confidence or faith. Don't do it. Do not stop. Do not forget whose hands you're in. Never are we alone. Heavenly Father is constantly there, guiding, leading, teaching, and helping us. Hold to hope. Always look to God, and allow yourself to seek and listen for the strength and progression that is surely there day by day, particularly in those hard times.
That was wonderful. We are with Al Carraway. Al Carraway is the author of More Than a Tattooed Mormon. It's just beautiful to hear those words in your voice, Al. And the book certainly offers much to those of us like me in the LDS community. Your uniqueness and special story is for everyone, really. And it broadens. Yeah, and so talk a little bit about that.
So it is about me, and kind of it starts off right with learning about and my journey to joining the LDS Church and everything that happened since then. But really, it has nothing to do with me, and it doesn't even necessarily have to do with the religion. But really, it's just how to keep going in hard times, how to fight for what you're passionate about, how to hold to integrity when you feel like you're the only one, and even when you find yourself doubting yourself. And it's the lessons I've learned through those hard things that really we all face, whether it's religion or not. It's really just about your identity and about life and about culture and how to do what you ultimately feel is right for you.
Yeah, I think that's a powerful message too. I've heard many people say, this is exactly what I needed at this moment in my life. And I imagine you've heard that too. You're chuckling. So touching on the point above about motivation and inspiration, what advice do you offer to those that really need uplifting, especially this time of year?
Well, do something about it. That's my best advice I think I can. I think just if we have time to worry about it, then we have time to seek. And if we have time to worry about it, then we have time to pray about it. But we don't always, right? A lot of the time we complain, whether to ourselves or to others or even to God, but then we don't listen. But then we don't read. And then we don't look. And so really, comfort is always there because Christ is always there. But are we turning to him? Are we doing those simple things that are asked of us? Like praying or reading, or I don't know. So one, if you are in need of comfort and hope and guidance, just do a little self-evaluation of your efforts and see if there's something you could be doing. If not, you can, or if you are, you can buy my book. Just kidding.
We will put links up to where you can buy Al's book. Absolutely. I thought, we'll just take a jump off of that point too, Al. I thought another important theme in the book was about humility, though. What did you learn about humility that's helped you most?
Well, it's an interesting question. I feel like I'm in like this weird balance between you have to fight and be you and be blunt and stay strong. And that's where like my New York stubbornness comes out. But then, a huge part of it is embracing the unexpected, knowing who is guiding you. And I think humility, that's really what, sometimes it takes me a while to get there. But I always know the times where I'm usually most exhausted from trial or decision making, where you're most open to the craziest ideas. I found that when I found myself in the most open to the craziest ideas, that is when progression happens. How long it takes me to get to that point depends. But I always feel like I get there, and that's when the really amazing things start to happen, because I not once sought after anything I am doing in my life. Not anything. I have never really received, if we think of the bigger things in life, I've never gotten what I have prayed for, but I've always received better things. I've always been led to the better things. And yeah, I might not have sought after the life I'm living now, but it breaks my heart to imagine my life any different than what it is now, because it's those exact moments where I find myself yelling at God, wondering where he was. It was those moments I was wondering where he was that brought me to everything I have now, and I would not want it any other way. And so once you even go through that once in your life, it's easier to do it in the future, knowing that, well, if it worked out that way before, it's got to work out that way again. And so that's helped me in the future. Well, he's helped me 100% of the times before, so why wouldn't I receive help and opportunity this time, even if it's not what I had in mind?
The book, More Than a Tattooed Mormon, was out in 2015, and one of the other things that just jumped out at me that really we can all do is write in a journal. And I personally loved hearing about all the different types of journals you write. Are you still writing in your journals?
Yes. Yeah, I actually have a journal line released.
Well,
I still do that.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you. Finally, your passion, honesty, excitement, and energy and enthusiasm are so evident in the book. But now you've started a podcast. I found it on SoundCloud, among other sites. So if you can't get out to speak with everyone, certainly the podcast is going to help share your message. How's the podcast going?
Good, I think. It's just another outlet to reach more people. Some people just don't like reading. And so I just make sure I cover all my bases to reach different people, because I do feel like what I'm saying does apply no matter your age or location. But it's doing really well. I think it's easier. I think it's better to hear the tone behind the things and my thoughts that I'm saying rather than just reading it. As you can tell by me reading my chapter, I'm pretty animated.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think that's a selling point when it comes to audio.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I loved the book, and but I love hearing your messages too there. So keep that going, please. And Al Carraway, thanks so much for joining us today on the program.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. We'll put links up to everything, but have a great day and stay warm out there in Salt Lake City.
Oh, it's freezing. I'll try. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Al Carraway. My thanks to our guest today, Al Carraway, whose books, More Than a Tattooed Mormon and Cheers to Eternity, both of which are on sale, and we'll put links directly to where you can find them. As usual, we'll post links to everything. And also, as usual, my thanks to you, the listeners, for joining me today. Your time is valuable, and I'm grateful you're spending some of it with me today. I'm always interested in feedback, and you can leave it at iTunes, Google Play, or send me an email directly at info@notold-better.com. Stay tuned for our next show, another great one, as we talk about better, the Not Old Better Show. And thanks to all, happy holidays, and please remember, offer some kindness, service, and love to everyone you meet. You'll never regret it, and you'll make a difference. Enjoy.